All right, I'll just share my screen, guys. So for the record, you guys won't need to say anything for the entire presentation. You guys are good. I encourage you to take notes and just listen in. This presentation will go somewhere between the 8 to 9 mark, hopefully finishing before that. And then we'll have 30 minutes to chat and discuss and build the plans with you guys individually. So we'll split up into some rooms and we'll help you plan your own personal plan. And then we'll provide support and accountability afterwards. So it's important that you just understand all of this so that you can build the most effective plan for you. So mood and motivation decoded dose. So what DOSE stands for is D, which is dopamine, O, oxytocin, S is serotonin, E is endorphins. These are neurochemicals or hormones that exist within the body and they impact how we feel and how we perceive the world. So if you can maybe not master these, but you can use these to your advantage and you understand how they work, you'll live a more fulfilling, productive life. And we'll go through them one at a time. Dopamine. Dopamine is your motivation, drive, and reward. So this is the way dopamine works. Dopamine is your motivation, drive, reward chemical. It pushes you towards goals, progress, discipline, and action. If you have low dopamine, good luck achieving your goals. And if you do, it's going to feel like an absolute grind. You won't have that motivation, that encouragement to actually follow through. You just feel like you're pushing against the grain every day. And that's going to feel like a grind. And normally you're probably going to be less likely to achieve because biology always wins. It's the difference between running a marathon with a rocket booster attached to your back compared to wearing ankle weights and a 30-kilo backpack. Having dopamine work for you really speed boosts. It makes everything feel easier. And so the way dopamine works is when we're striving to achieve a goal, the dopamine builds up slowly, and when we've almost hit that goal, the dopamine fades away. So dopamine is the build-up that that gives us the drive and the motivation. So the way this would work is in like biologically speaking, hunters and gatherers, if we were hunting, we'd need some sort of motivation chemical, something within us that was pushing us and pushing us. And as we got closer and closer, often the task becomes harder and harder. And so we need something within us that says, keep going, you're doing this, you've got this, I want this, let's go. And so dopamine builds up slowly. And as you almost hit that goal, dopamine is at its peak. And so you can see in this diagram, when you first set off to do a goal, the motivation is high. The dopamine starts off low. You have low drive. Like think about when you're studying something, think about when you're working towards a goal, you're building a business, you're starting a passion project, you're beginning like artwork. It starts off slow. As you start to get into it, you start to make progress, you start to understand different concepts, you start to have less uncertainty and more clarity. Dopamine begins to build, and when you're almost achieving your goal, dopamine is at its highest. And just when you reach it, it fades, you get the reward, you feel good, and that signals to your body, cool, if I work hard and long for something, I'm going to get a reward from it. And so that's how we train dopamine. Although in this modern world, dopamine has been hijacked by quick, quick, instantaneous pieces of dopamine without having to do the work. And so we start training our brain that we don't actually need to work to receive those benefits. And so signs that you have low dopamine. So the idea is that you want a healthy level of dopamine. If you have too high a level of dopamine, it can be overstimulated and unproductive. If your dopamine level is too low, you feel unmotivated, unproductive, and that's when we get into scrolling and not working on the things we should be. So signs that dopamine is too low: no motivation, difficulty focusing, low drive, feeling meh, procrastination, addictive tendencies, low sex drive, because dopamine is also linked to your libido, which is your sex drive, and no excitement about the future. So if you notice any of these things within you, that could be a sign that your dopamine isn't regulated at a healthy level. Signs of dopamine levels being healthy. strong motivation and discipline, laser focus, prolonged attention, high drive and ambition. You feel switched on and productive. Confidence increases. You have the feeling of, I can do this. I'm sure many of you can relate to a difficult task where you think, I can't do this, this is too hard. But when your dopamine is regulated and healthy, you start to believe you can do this because you know that when you push through hard things, it gets easier and easier and you get the reward. Better mood and optimism. Dopamine makes you see possibilities and futures worth chasing. Strong sex drive, you enjoy challenges.
And just on that as well, Daniel, having a too high of a level of dopamine comes from what you spoke about earlier, these sort of modern instances of like really high inputs of dopamine with very low effort, things like doom scrolling or alcohol and drugs or pornography, things like that. And if your dopamine levels are too high, you'll have the side effects. You'll be very impulsive. You'll experience a lot of anxiety. You'll be very overstimulated all the time because you're always having these really high bursts of dopamine without any break in between them. It can actually get manic to the point where you've got too much energy, you're jittery, and you can't sit still, which can also then just lead to things like depression, like insomnia. It can be really hard to sleep if you have too high levels of dopamine. Your sex drive can be too high, so it can get to the point where it's an addictive sex drive. And just it will lead to addiction to those high stimulus dopamine things as well, like drugs and alcohol and pornography. So you sort of, like Daniel spoke about, need to have that healthy level of dopamine without overdosing on it.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, you can think of low dopamine as like boredom, not motivated, and too high dopamine to constantly needing stimulation, feeling anxious, heads racing at night, can't get to sleep, those sort of things.
Mm. You can even think of it like a phone. Like if your phone is flat, it's not going to work and it will have low dopamine. If you plug it into a phone charger, charges up to 100%. Yep, that's cool. If you plug it into like a Tesla charger, it's going to overheat and blow up your phone.
Mm, that's a good analogy. So signs that your dopamine is too high and that you're overstimulated. This is the wired, anxious, restless, addictive side. Racing thoughts, brain jumps from idea to idea, impulsivity, quick decisions, chasing stimulation, craving novelty, needing something new all the time, new girl, new guy, new goal, new task, new dopamine hit. Addictive behavior, scrolling, nicotine, caffeine, porn, gambling, shopping. Difficulty relaxing, you feel bored quickly. Sitting still is uncomfortable. High competitiveness, everything feels like a challenge you need to conquer. Irritability when not stimulated. If dopamine drops, your mood drops instantly. Sleep issues, hard to switch off at night because dopamine is still firing. So have a think and see if you relate to any of those. So really the method in balancing your dopamine is very similar. Whether it's too high or too low, if you balance dopamine correctly, you will be able to neutralize either side. Dopamine in total balance looks like drive without anxiety, discipline without burnout, energy without overstimulation, focus without obsession. And you might also notice that you have a bit of both, and we'll explain how that's linked. But you might notice that you always need to be stimulated, you're up at night, your head's racing, but then you're also really unproductive, not working towards your goals, sitting on your phone scrolling, addicted to things. So you likely probably have both. I think most people have tendencies to sit in both. So this is an analogy that I want to draw. So within our bodies, we have a part of us that is constantly building these neurochemicals and these hormones, one of those of which is dopamine. And so your body has a certain amount of fuel to build this dopamine with, and you can consider that as the dopamine factory. So that works at a given rate for everyone biologically, that's building dopamine slowly. And when you do something hard or you do something that where the goal is prolonged, things like reading a book, studying, working towards a goal, your physique, training in the gym, you don't notice results immediately. You have to wait and you have to slowly build up. When that happens, it takes longer for the dopamine to actually reach your body as a reward. So the car picking up dopamine from the factory is essentially your body transporting the dopamine from your body to the point where your brain can connect with the dopamine and utilize it in the body. So if the car has a long road trip to get to the person, it takes time for the dopamine to reach that person. And while that's happening, your factory is continuously making more dopamine. And so you've got plenty of dopamine in the tank. Therefore, you're not going to run out of this drive and motivation to achieve your goals because it's constantly regenerating, but that needs to be trained. When you're getting quick fixes like scrolling your phone, watching porn, gaming, TV shows, things that are just easy hits, you train yourself not to really work for the reward. And not only that, but you're getting huge amounts of dopamine, things that just aren't natural and are only available in today's modern world. Biologically speaking, like the human being, like for any adaptation to occur, you need to go through a process of evolutions. And because humans generally live to about 80 years old, we're talking like hundreds of years ago is where our biology is wired. We haven't evolved for this modern world. And so therefore the stimulation that we receive today is is not healthy for us biologically if we don't have boundaries around that. And so in the sense that you're getting quick hits, you're shipping huge amounts of dopamine to the body, and your body just simply does not have enough of the neurochemical hormone dopamine to actually produce and give to the body. And so, therefore, over time, your body doesn't have any dopamine left. And so then you feel lethargic, you feel tired, you feel unmotivated, you feel unproductive because you don't know what it feels like. Your body internally, maybe logically you understand, but your body internally doesn't understand what it feels like to work for the dopamine. And you don't actually have any dopamine that is there to build up because you're basically stealing it all from the factory and you have none left. And so that's when we go to things like caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, things that would just give us like quick hits of dopamine because we're not able to generate that ourselves.
Mhm.
Is there anything you want to add to that, Corn Beans, or anything that wasn't clear?
No, just I just want to add, I guess, that the reason having a supply of dopamine, a steady stream of it coming through consistently, like you said, instead of massive spikes and then massive gaps, it actually has quite a lot of impact on your physical health as well. So it's very essential in bodily functions like causing your blood vessels to constrict and relax. So like regulating the blood flow, to assist with things like fight or flight. It increases the sodium and the urine removal from your body, which reduces insulin and prevents things like diabetes and obesity. It slows your gastrointestinal gut movement, which allows nutrients in your body to be absorbed and your blood sugar to be regulated. And it also improves your immune system by reducing, I can't say this word, sorry, lymphocyte. I think it's lymphocyte activity, which basically is how antibodies are produced in your body, which antibodies are the cells that fight viruses and bacteria, which stop you getting sick. So that word, lymphocyte activity, creating antibodies to stop you getting sick, essentially is what it does. So having that kind of like consistent stream of it is important for all those physical reasons as well, not just for the mood and motivation.
Yeah, there's a lot going on internally and biologically, and without understanding this, all we feel is like unmotivated, lethargic, and so essentially you can. If you're this person here, you're not screwed. You can actually build this up within a few days for most people. Within a few days, if you start to train your brain to receive dopamine over a longer period of time, you can retrain this pretty quick. But it's
Mm.
quite hard, especially in the beginning, because you just don't have the resources. And essentially, you can still do it. It just takes a lot of discipline and effort in the beginning and like the initial analogy, it's like it's like doing a marathon with weights on your ankle and a 30-kilo backpack because you don't have the dopamine that's assisting you in that drive because you haven't trained it. So you're now pushing against the grain to try and build this. And then as you do build that, you'll notice that instead of pushing against the grain, instead of walking like a backpack, it's like you've got a rocket booster. It just fuels you, you get into flow state, things feel a lot better. Working hard on hardly working really is harder work than actually working hard.
Say that 3 times fast.
I can't. I tried. Yeah, just to break that down if that's confusing, working hard on hardly working really is harder than actually working hard. So if you actually work hard and you actually prolong your motivation and your drive, that will eventually make your life so much easier. But if you hardly work for it, that is actually hard work. That was a brain teaser. Okay, so hopefully we will have a bit of an understanding of how dopamine works, and towards the end we'll have questions that help you get clear on like how to build this dopamine back up for yourself. Okay, oxytocin, the connection, trust, love, bonding hormone. Roles of oxytocin. So, bonding, romantic partners, friends, family, pets, emotional safety, reduces fear and anxious thoughts. It's the difference between feeling relaxed and always on. Think of it as I feel close, connected, safe, and understood. I can relax, I feel good, I feel butterflies, that sort of thing. Think makes so it makes connections feel secure. You're not worried, you're not anxious, you feel safe. Stress relief. Oxytocin lowers cortisol significantly, which is your stress hormone. Social confidence. Someone that has a lot of oxytocin coming through them, if they've got good relationships, good friendships, loving pets, they're more likely to show up in the real world as warm, open body language, easier communication. Someone that lacks a lot of this feel will feel any sort of emotions or demonstrate any sort of body language that they're reflecting internally, which is I don't feel safe, I don't feel loved. The difference between giving from overflow when already feeling good within yourself versus giving to take from neediness. So that shows up a lot in relationships and friendships rather than reaching out when you need something or going to like your significant other or a relationship and trying to get something from them. You already feel good and you just want to give to them. That's someone that has a healthy level of oxytocin that just wants to give because they want to give to other people rather than they just need to take because they need this. Like you can get oxytocin for you within yourself and you can feel safe and you can feel loved and then you can give to the world. You can't give if you've got nothing to give, you're only taking. So it's important to be aware of this so you can generate that for yourself. Signs that oxytocin might be low within you: feeling disconnected, struggling to trust, hard time bonding, feeling lonely even when you're around people, overthinking relationships, and emotional numbness. So as we're saying these things, just notice what like triggers something emotionally within you. That's what I do when I'm reading books as well. Whenever you're reading and something like hits you and you're like, oh, whoa, that hit me or that feels true or whatever, or that triggered me, note that down because that's important because your body knows more than your analytical brain at times and your body reacts to things. How to raise your oxytocin. And no, you can't hack oxytocin like you can with dopamine. Like dopamine, you can take some nicotine, you can take a coffee shot, you can drink some alcohol, you can rip a bong, and that's going to give you dopamine. But oxytocin, you can't just take like a love potion and feel connected with everyone. These things, they do take work. So oxytocin releases in different people through different things. So notice what generates oxytocin within you. It might be different for different people. Like one quick example here is eye contact. For some people, that makes people really vulnerable and anxious. For other people, strong eye contact feels really good and they feel seen. So notice what feels right for you, where you get that warm, fuzzy feeling within you. So that could be physical touch, hugs, cuddling, massage, sex, hand holding, deep social connection, eye contact, meaningful conversations, spending time with friends or loved ones, warm, genuine bonding, acts of kindness, giving, complimenting, generosity. That's a huge one. Like I just do that to strangers now in the gym. Like if I see someone wearing something that looks really nice, I'll compliment them on that. And it's insane what you receive from that. Just them smiling and thanking you, it really does something to you. Pets, playing with or hugging animals can spike your oxytocin. Music and singing, group singing especially, karaoke, meditation and breath work, especially compassion based or heart focused, positive relationship repair, apologies, vulnerability, emotional honesty. So you're probably noticing a lot of this involves a lot of vulnerability, especially for a lot of people. But the way to love is to be vulnerable. Without being vulnerable, you're not being your true self, and therefore you don't allow the other person to be their true self. And then there's not really a genuine connection. It's two masks facing each other. And
Mm.
that can be really scary. So again, find the things that feel like they're within your comfort zone because oxytocin is not supposed to make you scared or frightened or unsafe. Unsafe. It's supposed to do the opposite, make you feel safe. Often we do need to push the boundaries when we do feel safe so we can improve our relationship with ourselves and how we show up. Um, but this should make you feel good. So think about those things.
Mm.
Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Luke?
Just oxytocin, like it's much simpler than dopamine, but like you've put there, you can't hack it. You can't like just get more of it. And it's really hard. Like we're more disconnected than ever in today's day and age, just the way we live our lives. And even within existing friendships and relationships, we're way more disconnected. So these feelings of like vulnerability and being afraid to open up are I think are just more common than ever, even in established relationships. So this can be a really hard one for people to sort of be like, where am I going to get more of that? But just encourage people to sort of think outside the box here. And like the work that you might need to do with yourself might be pretty heavy here because it can be hard to sort of like look at yourself and figure out what walls do I have up stopping me from engaging in some of this. So just encouraging people to, yeah, really like think about this one.
Yeah.
think it's
And it's
and did I say taking notice of others as well? Like I think we forget how much this can actually make an impact on yourself and others, and I think the more we recognize that, I often hold my 9-year-old son's hand for like a minute or two, and I can watch his whole body just change, and he completely just sort of relax and sink into where he's at. And interesting to watch that because that if we can do that for someone else, we can do it for ourselves, right?
mm, yeah, absolutely. Fun fact, it takes 6 seconds for oxytocin to release in the body when hugging someone. You can literally feel the switch. So if you have a partner, I really encourage you to actually try this. Hug them and count the 6 slow seconds. And you'll notice that around the 4 to 5 second mark, maybe even 6 seconds, you just feel this huge release and you feel so safe and comforted and seen. And it genuinely feels incredible. So if you've got someone in your life that you can do this with, maybe it's your mum or your dad, or a sibling or a friend, or if you're in a relationship, you can do that. But you really do notice it. And if you try that, let me know how it went because I promise it will be an absolute game changer.
Hug your friends, everybody.
Hug your friends.
Hug your friends.
Serotonin. Serotonin is related to feeling steady, calm, emotionally regulated. And so this links into dopamine, especially if you're very highly stimulated and you're on all the time. You've got racing thoughts, you might feel anxious, your heartbeat is quite high, you have all these heightened emotions. What you probably need if you're in that boat is to relax, feel calm and emotionally regulated. And even if your dopamine's low, serotonin links in with that because steady, calm, emotionally regulated activities like reading a book or meditating, for example, is also going to improve your relationship with dopamine because you're waiting longer for that reward and you're giving yourself the opportunity to build that up. Core roles of serotonin: mood regulation, helps you feel stable, content, and not overly reactive. Anxiety reduction, low serotonin equals more overthinking, irritability, and fear responses. Sleep regulation. Serotonin turns into melatonin. Your whole sleep rhythm depends on it. So melatonin is your sleepiness hormone. It's what makes you feel tired at nighttime. So in the morning, you want cortisol, which is your stress hormone, so you're awake and you're alert. And then at nighttime, the only way melatonin, which is your sleepiness hormone, the only way that can rise is if your stress decreases to a certain point. So once stress decreases, it finally gets to a point at night where it's like, okay, cool, melatonin can start rising. And if you don't get that right, cortisol will carry into like late into the night and you'll struggle to get the sleep. You'll finally get to sleep. And while you're sleeping, then cortisol can finally relax. Melatonin will rise and then you might rise at 6 a.m. But because your circadian rhythm, which is your sleep cycle, because that's out of whack, melatonin is rising when you're trying to wake up, so you feel sleepy, when really you want cortisol to rise at that point. So the idea is Stick to your alarm, rise up, cold shower, push-ups, whatever, rise your cortisol, and then naturally fade into relaxation during the end of your day. Uh, it assists in appetite regulation, so it influences hunger, cravings, fullness. Social behavior and confidence. Healthy serotonin is associated with more grounded, warm, connected energy. Serotonin is basically your baseline mood stabilizer. And unlike dopamine, you can't hack it instantly, but you can cultivate healthier levels through diet and lifestyle habits, similar to oxytocin. You can't just take, you can take pills, but the issue with taking pills is you don't change any of the neurochemistry within you. You're constantly relying on something to mask how you're feeling, and it suppresses a lot of the things that are going on just so you feel sleepy, sedated, tired. But as soon as you're off that drug, your hormones are still out of whack. In fact, probably more out of whack because you weren't paying attention to them and you're continuing to neglect them. And the longer you neglect these neurochemicals and these hormones within your body, the worse it's going to get for you, and the longer the road will be to get back to a healthy state of being in better mood, more motivation.
Very similar to the dopamine overload we spoke about earlier. If you're getting dopamine from these artificial sources, it's not how your body was meant to function, and it's going to create bigger problems in the long run.
Mm. Sanjay serotonin may be low, feeling flat or numb, anxiety, rumination, sleep disturbances, digestive issues and cravings, low resilience to stress, reactive, sensitive, irritable. I would also add to that if you're someone that struggles to go to bed at night and you want to like watch TV or you want to stay up or you have caffeine late, then that is a good sign that you need to be regulating your serotonin so you feel calm and anxious. Some people have a huge avoidance to being calm and steady because they enjoy the feeling of being overstimulated. I'm one of those. That's something that I battle with. Okay, so the goal is to support this chain. This is how it works in the body in terms of serotonin. So we have 18 amino acids within the body that are associated with like our mood, how we interact with the world, our behavior, our actions. These amino chain, these like aminos within the body are responsible for a lot of things. And nine of those are non-essential, nine of those are essential. The non-essential ones means it's not essential to get that from food and lifestyle because your body naturally produces those amino acids. And then essential amino acids are the things that we need to get from diet and lifestyle. And if we don't get that from diet and lifestyle, we're not going to have an adequate amount of those amino acids, and therefore our body won't be functioning as it should, and that affects our mood and our motivation. So one of those essential amino acids is tryptophan, and this is important for the serotonin pathway. And tryptophan you must get from your diet. If you're not getting tryptophan in your diet, then you can't it's going to be a very slow chain reaction to be able to get to serotonin, which is how we feel calm and steady. So tryptophan, you literally need to eat tryptophan, and we'll go over the foods where you can get that. Tryptophan, once you consume that, it then converts into 5-HTP, which is also known as tryptophan hydrolase. Basically, it needs to convert the 5-HTP just so your brain recognizes it as something it can use. So you eat the tryptophan, it converts into something where your brain says, "Hey, I can use this." And when it knows that it can use it, then it puts that into serotonin, and serotonin is that feeling that we were speaking about. And the way you convert tryptophan into the chemical where your brain can use it is through lifestyle. So you need to eat the tryptophan, you need to do the lifestyle habit, then you'll have serotonin, and then naturally at nighttime, serotonin converts into melatonin, which is the sleepiness hormone, and this regulates your sleep. So if you struggle with sleep, this is really important. So the step one, eat tryptophan. Tryptophan is an essential amino acid from foods like eggs, chicken, salmon, etc. Your body does not produce it naturally. You literally need to consume it. Your body absorbs it. It enters your bloodstream, then crosses into the brain. That's what we just spoke about. So foods that are high in tryptophan, from highest to lowest, first being turkey, chicken breast, second being, by the way, take a photo of this because we'll use this later. So just take a screenshot or take a photo of this so you've got it. Tuna, salmon, cod. Omega-3 also improves serotonin receptors. Think avocado and olive oil. So the good, healthy fats, that's omega-3. That's found in fish, but also in avocado and olive oil. So that helps to support the process and make the process quicker, converting into the serotonin. Pork loin or beef, lean cuts, eggs, cheese, milk, and Greek yogurt, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, and tahini, peanuts and almonds, oats, canola, soybeans, dark chocolate, bananas. So for someone that's consuming meat or fish in their diet, you probably naturally get this, which is really good to know. If you're not, especially if you're vegetarian or vegan, you really need to be aware of this because you've only got probably six, seven, eight, nine, and 10. And these produce like much lower amounts of tryptophan as well. So you really need to be prioritizing that in your diet. I'm someone that eats meat and fish, so I get that quite naturally.
I was stoked when we got this list because I think literally every single one of those things, except probably dark chocolate, I eat every day.
So good. Sunflower seeds.
Yeah, I have them in my muesli.
Yeah, all right, that's awesome. So here's some Solace recipe cards from our platform. I just thought I'd share this with you guys. So you can take a screenshot of this if you like as well. These are probably the top recipe cards that I found within our platform that help aid this process. You've got like meats in here, eggs, and you've even got like pro oats that have the oats and the yogurt and things like that. So you can take a quick screenshot of that. And obviously, anyone that's in Solace, you'll find similar recipes as well that are high protein or high in tryptophan. Okay, so that's step one, eat the tryptophan. Step two is lifestyle. Sunlight is the best natural booster. Just 10 to 20 minutes of morning light spikes serotonin production. This is why people feel flat in winter or indoors all day. And you also notice that in parts of the world where they don't see the sun for half the year, like Antarctica and
Alaska.
Alaska is what I was thinking of. Yeah, they have like huge problems with like alcoholism and depression. So who would have known the sun's good for you? Movement, particularly zone two cardio, it's like walking, jogging, weights, yoga. And when I say weights, it's more of the well, yeah, just weights in general, but just moving the body. It doesn't need to be high intensity. It just needs to be movement. Exercise increases tryptophan availability and increases serotonin receptor sensitivity. So essentially just speeds up the process. Gut health, 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. So inflammation or poor diet impacts mood. If your gut or body is inflamed, tryptophan gets diverted into the kynurenine pathway. I think that's how you say it, which is basically just a pathway instead of serotonin. So essentially, if your body or your gut is inflamed and you have poor diet and you're really stressed all the time, when you eat that tryptophan, rather than that being converted into serotonin, feeling calm and less anxious, that basically gets stolen, taking through a different pathway in the body that just creates stress. So it's really important to prioritize all of these things. You can start to see how those interconnects with each other. Um, so if you have a good diet and you're less stressed, then you're more likely to get serotonin, which also creates calm and less anxiety. And things like this is also why it's not that I don't believe in calories. I know it exists and it works, but the body is so much more than just calories. Because if you're just counting your calories, but you're eating like McDonald's and fried foods and things like that, like right here, 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. So you can be counting the calories and be on track. But if your gut is inflamed, if you're not looking after your gut health, if you're not like eating foods that are good for you, then like that's genuinely just not great for your health. And you're probably more likely to sabotage your goals because you're going to be more stressed, you're going to be more anxious, you're going to waste more time. Your dopamine's not going to be regulated. So there's like a whole host of things that go on within your body outside of just hitting a calorie goal. Um,
Crazy you say that when we're coming on to number four, which is touch, connection, meditation, because that's pretty much habit stacking with oxytocin as well.
yeah,
Like how they
yeah,
all integrate and they all work together.
100%. So yeah, four is touch, connection, meditation, gratitude, cold exposure, cold spikes tryptophan. Um, Things like good friendships, hugs, massage, social bonding, mindfulness increases serotonin in the prefrontal cortex over time, which is your front thinking brain. So if you're in your head all the time, serotonin will help reduce that as well and help you be able to think a little bit more clearer, analytical, and that's obviously going to help boost you towards your goals, which then relates back to dopamine as well. One thing that I found through researching this is that cold exposure and sunlight are some of the best things that you can do for all of them,
Mm.
which is crazy. Going on a walk in the I've got to put this in here. Going on a walk in the sun won't solve your problems. Me in the park, 5 minutes later. Okay. Funny. Anyway, okay, some notes. Step one, consume tryptophan, mindful eating. You can have like a strict meal plan, or you can just be mindful of getting the right foods within your diet. For those that are in South, we just did like a shopping tour walkthrough. So that helps as well if you're just mindful and you're doing it a little bit more creatively rather than structured. I think structure helps a lot though, especially when you're beginning. Step two is movement and sunlight. That's the rate limiting step. If this step is slow, everything downstream stays low. Cortisol, the stress and awake hormone, pushes tryptophan towards stress metabolites, which we talked about, not serotonin. So anything that reduces stress speeds up the process of the serotonin pathway. So eat the food, move, get some sunlight, and then at night in darkness, the pineal gland converts serotonin into melatonin, the sleepy hormone. So that's step three. Things that also support melatonin at night, things like dim lights, caffeine curfew, cool, dark room, wind down routine. Just knowing your routine and when you should be turning your phone off at night, I feel helps a lot. How to completely fuck up your system biochemically. Step one, eat Vegemite and toast for breakfast. No tryptophan there. And also, the carbohydrates in the bread will give you like a quick energy hit and then a crash afterwards. There's plenty of other terrible breakfasts like cereal. Sit in an office all day working a job you hate. Be very afraid of the sun and speak to no one. Step three, go home and watch porn in between doom scrolling social media to hijack your brain's ability to focus on anything long term. This equals stress, anxiety, and depression. If you relate to some of these in your life, which I think a lot of people do, this was kind of said sarcastically, but I honestly think it relates to a lot of people and definitely me at one stage as well. Just take note. And there's no need to hold like shame or anything like that. We're all human. It's just about learning and moving forward. So if this relates to you, you can kind of get an example of like all the things that we've been talking about. And a lot of this probably makes more sense now.
And you can notice these differences day to day. Like if you did this on Monday and did your dose plan Tuesday and then did this again on Wednesday and then did your dose plan again on Thursday, you would notice day to day how much better you feel the Tuesday and the Thursday versus how crap you'd feel on the Monday and the Wednesday. Like it's literally that quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Endorphins. This is our last one. Your body's natural painkillers and stress relievers. Something I found out about this, which is really cool. Is this on the next? Ah, yes. First point. Core roles of endorphins, pain relief. They bind to the same receptors as opioids, things like morphine and codeine, but naturally. So endorphins are literally as powerful as morphine and codeine. They're just obviously a natural way of getting that, which is crazy. And so they help with stress reduction and resilience. And when I say stress reduction, it's more like the mental stress that we have. Obviously, if you've stressed your body and your body's like sore from running, don't go running again. But like if you're in your head, you're stressed out, things like that will really help. Over time, your body will become more adaptive to stress to help you stay calm and under pressure. You'll become more tolerant to discomfort, which works hand in hand with dopamine regulation. Boosted mood, pleasure, euphoria. They produce warm, uplifting feelings, less stabilizing than serotonin, but more energizing. Endorphins are released during intense exercise, laughter, pain, stress, sex, cold exposure. So anything where you're pushing against your comfort zone, your heart rate is high. They create that feel good, euphoric, resilient sensation. Think of endorphins as your I can handle this chemical. This is how you feel after a run, aka the run is high. It's the reason you can have a good laugh, and in that moment, every problem in the world seems to disappear. When you're just laughing your head off, You're not thinking about anything. Nothing in the world matters. It doesn't matter how much stress or how much chaos is going on in your world. You just feel amazing. Same thing after a run, same thing after getting out of an ice bath. You just feel incredible. Nothing in the world matters.
That's how I feel after we play FIFA.
Yeah. True. And you lose. Okay, so let's build the foundation for the plan. This is the action plan. So for dopamine, hopefully you guys have downloaded the Google Docs sheet or the Notion sheet, and we'll work through this together. I'm just going to quickly run through it here, but these questions are also in your template as well to work through. So what goals, long-term vision, passion projects, skills, habits, gym routine, grocery shopping, meal prep, reading, creative pursuits can you invest your time into? Anything that's a long-term investment, not a quick fix. List your boundaries to create space for success. Eliminate things that discourage effort. Think social media, self-pleasure, porn, TV shows, sleeping in, junk food, caffeine, anything that gives you that quick hit of pleasure. So you're looking at things that will prolong the reward, things that you're genuinely invested in, things that you really want to do, things that you're passionate about, and then think about the things that block you from doing that, that are giving you that quick hit of dopamine. So there are two things to think about for dopamine. Anything Luke or Michael would like to add?
No, you've got it all there.
Mm.
Uh, did I do that twice? I did that twice. Okay. Build the foundations for your plan for oxytocin. What truly creates a feeling of deep presence and love with yourself? Think intentional time with pets, hugging a family member, fully embracing your partner, ideally for 6 seconds, phoning a friend, sending a thoughtful text. Identify the things that block you from these experiences. Think fear of opening up, stress from work, overthinking, binging TV, on your phone around others, or rushing in the morning, fear of rejection and judgment. So really think about the things that make you feel whole. And then once you think about those things that make you feel whole, you might have, for example, let's say it's fully embracing your partner. Maybe when you get home, you're anxious, you don't know how she feels, you're not sure if she's in a good mood. Then that would be some sort of like fear of opening up or fear of communicating or something like that, because that's the thing that's blocking you from being vulnerable to open up and to fully embrace that. So it's not to say you have to do it, but these are just some things to consider because there might be things that are actually blocking you from this. If you're in a big rush in the morning, then you're less likely to say goodbye, hug your partner, spend some time with your cats or your dogs. I'm a cat man. I like dogs too, but it's going to create an uproar. I think most people are dog people. Okay, for serotonin, look at the screenshot you took earlier of the food. Build a meal plan that includes these foods as part of it. And with that, include a hydration plan. What I would probably suggest is somewhere between 2 to 3 liters of water a day for most people, maybe a little bit more if you're working out. I generally say consume at least a full glass first thing in the morning, ideally half a liter to a liter, because if you can rehydrate your system immediately, you're going to be more hydrated for the first half of the day. If you wait to drink your water at lunch, then you've gone the first half of the day unproductive, unmotivated, and not being able to think clearly because hydration plays a huge part in your mental clarity. With hydration, I strongly recommend having some sort of salt within that, Celtic salt or Himalayan salt. It's mineral dense and it helps with your hydration because you're getting the minerals back into your body, not just plain water, which water without the minerals will go straight into your bladder and out again. It doesn't actually hydrate your cells. And then what I also really recommend, and I know it's a pain, but to have fresh lemon, to squeeze a lemon in there as well, because lemon is a natural, acts as a natural electrolyte, and electrolytes basically go into your body. They bind to the minerals that are in the water. So that's why you're putting the Celtic salt or the Himalayan salt in it. The electrolytes bind to those, and those electrolytes, they transport the minerals to the parts of your body that needs it. So if you've got like a headache, if you've got like sore muscles, those electrolytes will transport the minerals to those areas of the body, and you will feel more recovered, more clear in your head. Whatever symptoms are going on with you, hydration is key. So lemon, salt, water, ideally half a liter to a liter first hour, and then about 2 to 3 liters a day. And obviously the nutrition is key. If you're not a meat eater, you need to be very careful with it. And also not just getting tryptophan, but also what we spoke about with gut health. And so just making sure you're eating healthier as well. So your gut's in a better place as well to actually be able to release that serotonin. Okay, so that's that. Step two is identify times in the day to prioritize walking in the sun, meditation, cold exposure, a wind down wake up routine, and so on. Choose what works for you. Set the intention to prioritize meaningful connection with friends. You literally need to walk in the sun. That's it. Well, you should probably do the other stuff as well. But I start my day with a cold shower. I think meditation is helpful if your thoughts are racing, but walking in the sun is goated. Endorphins. Aim to do something daily or multiple times through the week that create that feel good, euphoric, resilient sensation. These don't need to be scheduled. They can also be go-to painkillers when life gets chaotic, dull, or stressful. Think ice baths, running, cycle class, intense gym sessions, comedy, intense laughter, or dancing, singing in the car, ideally at the top of your lungs. You really want to get that energy going. And what I mean by these can be like go-to painkillers. It's like if you just have a routine that includes movement, like going to the gym or going to yoga or Pilates or whatever you'd like to do, you can do that as part of your routine, but some days you might get home and you just think, my head is going crazy right now. I feel so anxious or I feel so depressed. I just need to like shake this feeling. The best thing you can do in that moment is like go for a run or do something here or have a cold shower, like max out some push-ups. Get yourself into that point where the endorphins release in your body, which only come from high intensity.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I think like last week I was just it was like 6 or 7 p.m. and I was just like feeling anxious, I think, and I just like couldn't shake this feeling. And I'm like, man, I just know that I need like endorphins right now. I just can't shake this feeling by sitting here. So I just went for a run. It was all good.
Which is tough because when you're feeling like that, the last thing you want to do is get up and go for a run or do something hard. And basically with anything in this presentation, all of it is really simple, but a lot of it is actually not easy to do. So it's simple, but it's not easy. So, but once you string these things together, these little wins, and you sort of start to notice, oh, this stuff actually does work. Maybe eating healthy and walking in the sun is actually good for me. Who would have thought it? It seems kind of like you lay it out like we have, and it's like, oh, okay, well, yep, okay. If I do the healthy things, I'll feel good. But it really is. It works. It's all you need to do. It's simple, but it's not easy. But
Mm.
once you sort of build that pattern up, it becomes part of your lifestyle.
And knowing the four and how they interconnect as well, it's like, yeah, we know that walking in the sun is going to
Hadi
release
oğlum
stress.
vallahi da öyle. Sözüm.
If you're feeling like lonely, isolated, and you don't have oxytocin building up, then walking in the sun actually probably might not help what you're going through. Like it is good for you and it's great to prioritize, and you might have serotonin, but maybe what you're actually lacking is oxytocin. So we're going to put a plan together. We're going to answer these questions. And essentially, at the end of it, we're just going to have three things that we need to tick off daily, which is purpose, movement, and connection, and we're gonna just monitor how we feel each day. So every day in the chat, you're going to reply into the chat. We'll give you Michael, Luke. Are we going to give the okay? So we'll give you Wednesday to sort of build this plan tomorrow because tonight's getting late and you might not be able to get your whole routine in check. And so you'll have Wednesday to put together like your solid routine and everything you want to do. You might put your gym plan in there, you might build your meal plan, all of that. But even beginning on Wednesday, you can still do one thing that's prioritizing movement, one thing that's prioritizing connection, and one thing that's prioritizing purpose. 30 minutes for purpose, it's 30 minutes or less working on something that is driving you towards your goals. So that could be anything personal growth related. It's like doing the study I know I should do for 30 minutes, not just showing up to your job, or like reading for 30 minutes because I'm increasing my intellect and I know that the more intelligent I become, the further I'll get in my growth. But it's like 30 minutes of action towards something you're passionate about, even if that's just growing as a person. And then the movement I would suggest is 30 minutes. I said 30 minutes or less, but I mean 30 minutes or more for both of these. 30 minutes or more of movement per day. Walking, yoga, gym, whatever that is for you. And connection, that can be what you make it now that you know how oxytocin is released and the things that you can do to get it and what works for you.
And on that movement thing, 30 minutes or more, definitely. But try to, in that session, try to at least once in that session get to the point where you're out of breath and your heart rate is really high. You're going to really hit that high threshold of cardiovascular movement to really pump those endorphins out. So it doesn't have to be 30 minutes of sprints or 30 minutes of super intense lifts, but try to at least get to that stage once in your workout.
That might be that burst of cardio at the end of your workout
Yeah.
or what, for
Or,
instance.
doing some crunches at the end or whatever. If you're going for a run, sprint for a couple of minutes.
Yeah. A couple minutes on the assault bike will do that.
Hmm.
You'll
Literally 2 minutes on the assault bike.
That's
Still got
that's
28 minutes
definitely
left
on the
though.
step of on the stairmaster at the end of my workout. Like just pump it up hard for 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, skipping rope non-stop will do it.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Do you want to hit stop recording, Michael? We'll jump into it.
Mm-hmm. 2 sec.